Hey guys, I want to tell you a story that I think will be really meaningful to get into the topic of social media and specifically TikTok. I want to talk about the TikTok platform today, but I want to start with a story. So bear with me as I get going. You'll definitely kind of start to key in on why I'm telling this story. So there's a guy, and he makes the best tacos you can imagine. I mean, pork, beef, chicken, fish, whatever. He's just amazing tacos, and he has homemade tortillas, and he has homemade guacamole, and he has homemade salsa, and it's just this guy can kill it. When it comes to tacos, you want him every time. Just I know you're thinking about it. I know you're smelling it. I know you're tasting it. You're thinking, "Oh, I want this guy's tacos." And he makes them for family and he makes them for friends. And sometimes he'll go to like the farmers markets and he'll make some tacos. But this guy, the taco guy, he hears about this new market opening up downtown. And it's in this huge parking lot, kind of, just unlimited space. He hears about this market and he's like, I got to get in. So he applies to get in to make tacos. Now, meanwhile, so this is the taco guy. We'll just call him the taco guy. So the market guy is the guy that wants to set up a market. He's interested in having a market. He likes food. He likes crafts. He likes community. This guy, the market guy, thinks, I want to bring it all together. I want to bring all these different people. I want to bring these creatives and these foodies and all these different people into one space to have community, to be able to buy and sell things, to be able to just spend time with each other. So he sets up this market. It's on Saturday mornings, perfect weather, perfect time. Early in the morning, and there's fresh fruits, and there's crafts, and then there's the taco guy, and he gets his taco guy's application. He's like, "Man, this sounds great." Maybe they even test the tacos, and he's like, "This is great." We bring out the taco guy. So he has his first market, and it's a success. And maybe there's 5 or 6 booths, some bracelets, some fresh fruit and vegetables locally grown and all that, and then the taco guy, and it's really successful. And the market guy realizes this works. People in the community are excited. So he rents a space again in a couple weeks, and he tells the city and he tells the community, "Hey, we're going to have this market." And this time, he's got some more vendors. He's got not just the taco guy, but he's got a hummus guy. And he's got, a hamburger guy, a French fry guy, whatever. He's got all these different people doing all these different, food items and craft items. And obviously, I can, silly story, but definitely want to illustrate this point. And I want to transition to why we think about TikTok and how this story relates. TikTok is a platform, it's basically the market guy. Seeing an opportunity, seeing a space, and wanting to create space for creatives and fans to sort of get together. This is what TikTok is. We have an artist, a taco guy who can make these amazing tacos. And he comes out and he's like, I make the best tacos there are, right? And as the fans come into the market each Saturday and they get that whiff of that, that pork, they're like, oh, there's al pastor, I need it, right? And they head straight for it. Sooner or later, there's another taco guy, right? That's amazing also. And so now we have some competition for that taco spot. And maybe there's, some French fry people or, the spiral potato, or maybe there's funnel cake, or maybe there's boba or whatever. But all of a sudden, you have all these people starting to compete for, let's say, 10 spots. And now the market, the guy that controls the market, the space, has access to hundreds of vendors, and he could pick and choose. And what you quickly see happen is the person that controls the space can control what the fans experience, the community, what they come into. And it's no longer about we have the best tacos. The framing to the community is we have the best space for this experience. Now start the translation process to TikTok. TikTok is a space where you could be extremely talented and be undiscoverable, virtually undiscoverable. You can get on and everybody tells you, and I want to talk a little bit about today, should you be on TikTok? I'm going to answer right now, absolutely yes. But I want to talk about how, because the question isn't really should you or shouldn't you. That's actually a silly question. But that's actually the most common question I get with TikTok is should I be on TikTok or not? It's the wrong question. The answer pretty much is always yes. And sure, there's circumstances where it might be no, but really, there's not a whole lot of reason. There's not a whole lot of downside of being on TikTok unless you do it wrong. We'll get there in a second. But back to the food market analogy. At some point, the power shifts. So when we start with this person who makes amazing tacos, they have a lot of power. When they sell tacos, when they show up, everybody knows these are the best. So they have a lot of power. And as long as they are the ones that have not just great tacos, but they have a monopoly on the space, they will always be the top. But the second, if you put two taco stands next to each other, and this might be a horrible, horrible comparison, but if you put Del Taco and Taco Bell next to each other, suddenly there's choices, right? And I know there's a lot of laughs right now. People who would choose that? Why would, but think about it. In-N-Out Burger and Five Guys, whatever, McDonald's, Carl's Jr., whatever the comparisons are. But the second that we have options, something happens. You start to have your diehard fans and the people that actually care about your brand gravitating to your brand. So you start to lose some of that initial interest in, the community who might otherwise be interested in you, but now they have options. So the second there's competition on the platform, the fans, the community has options to start looking around. And if they're not diehard, if they're not sold out and exclusive on you, they're going to look around. Now, when it comes to music, when it comes to entertainment, how many people are exclusive? Like, I will only listen to this band. I'll only listen to music. I'll only watch this films from this producer. We already know the answer is that's ridiculous. Consumers don't behave that way when it comes to art. They don't pick one band and only listen to that. They might pick a genre. Even that today is pretty rare. When I was growing up, I think people kind of stuck in genre lanes, certainly a lot more than they do today. Today, it's genres is kind of an open field. Not only do consumers jump around genres, but even artists are jumping around genres. So going back to this analogy of the food market, when the power starts to shift, it shifts into the hands of the person that controls the space, the platform, because now they can pick and choose who's in that spot. So think about it. We get a steady audience coming because of the tacos from this particular vendor. But once the steady stream is coming, that owner of that space can swap out taco stands, can swap out boba stands, can swap out fresh fruit and vegetable stands. And now it's not as important who's there. It's just the fact that we have great vegetables, great food, great entertainment, a great space. So now the relationship that was built on the creatives, the ones who bring in this talent, that bring in this special thing, and they create the direct link and relationship to the fans or the consumers or the community, the platform owners basically setting that relationship up. So now the platform owner can say, you know what, taco guy, you were great in helping me get started, but I don't need you anymore. I'll use this one or that one, or whoever's cheaper, whoever can get here faster, whoever's willing to work on a smaller space for more money. Whatever the dynamics are, that market owner, that space owner can now control the direct relationship with the fans. Because at the end of the day, that person, that market owner, that space owner only gets paid when the fans show up. We don't necessarily get paid from the content. Now, there's arguably there's royalties, there's different things that happen when you use other people's copyrights, but I'm not really going that direction. I'm talking about the development of the platform. When we think about TikTok, what's happened is TikTok started with, it's a new platform everybody needs to be on. And so there's all these content creators and they're doing all kinds of different things, right? But what happened is the fans showed up and said, let me be entertained. Show me entertainment. And quickly the platform said, oh, you like this style of music or you like this artist. I will serve up a never-ending stream of things that I think you'll be interested in. So one artist may have opened the door to 10,000 or a million different fans, but once those fans are in the door, the platform can serve up anything they want, having nothing to do with that original artist who opens the door. So where does that put us as indie artists in the context of TikTok? First of all, we have very little power when we think about we've already brought the fans to the platform. The independent creative community, so it's not just music, creatives in general, and this includes, teenagers dancing around, this includes, stupid stunts and all this kind of stuff that we see on TikTok. All those people amassed a fan base, and the platform controls that fan base because we, the creators, don't have control. We can put up what we want. We can take down what we own or control. We can't take down other people's stuff. We can't monopolize a space. We can't create an exclusive relationship on the TikTok platform because the platform says, "Oh, you like Brock's music? Listen to his song and then keep scrolling because the next one's not Brock, it's somebody else." So now the platform TikTok is actually making me less powerful by saying, Brock will open the door, or you independent artists will open the door to these fans. But once they're in the door, we're going to pull you out and start just feeding content, interesting content, whatever you're looking for, basically you will find. So now the platform itself, built on the backs of creative, is actually undermining the strength that creatives have in that direct relationship to the fans, because you may make amazing content, now you don't even have a shot. So it becomes a battle to get in that stream. It becomes a battle to get the attention of all the people. Meanwhile, the platform is saying, I need to diversify. I need to make sure that the fans never get bored, that they'll scroll forever, that they're lost in this ecosystem of scrolling, and they never stop. And I want you to think about something. First of all, where the power is in that ecosystem, and how little power independent artists have within that ecosystem. And yet, if you're not on it, you don't even have a shot at that audience. You may say, well, hey, some of the audience is over here on Instagram, or hey, that's only, we're talking about 13-year-olds. My music really hits the 65-year-olds. Maybe you're right, and maybe TikTok's not your platform. But by and large, TikTok is the platform where music can be discovered, where artists are signed, where so much can happen. Because in many ways, it is still a free-for-all. I think about remember live video, kind of when it came on the scene, and before we had Facebook Lives and Instagram Lives and YouTube Lives and all that, we had, go back to thinking about what year this was. I don't know, 2015 or probably actually 2010 to 2015, somewhere in there. I don't remember exactly. But remember Periscope, or remember some of the live apps, and we would see these are so new. Actually, in some ways, it's still a little bit like Clubhouse. I think Clubhouse is probably, actually, I don't want to get off the rails here, but in some ways, Clubhouse is still like, it's an interesting platform that not a ton of people have explored, but enough where it's got some fire, it's got some heat, it's got some momentum. But it's also become somewhat of a political platform, and so it's lost some of its potency in terms of keeping creatives engaged in creating, because of what's happened with the political conversation and how it kind of hijacked the platform. But in a lot of ways, I think about Clubhouse and where it is, sort of like Snapchat. There was a point where every grown adult was looking at Snapchat as like, oh, that's the kids app, or that's just where people are sending naked pictures of themselves because they'll disappear, after a period of time or whatever. But over time, that started to evolve. And I think Snapchat suffered a lot and gained a lot because of the reputation it had early on. But Snapchat has evolved, right? And Snapchat, I don't think most people today think of Snapchat as just sexting. I mean, my perception is maybe a lot of adults don't understand it, but certainly the younger community, I don't think views it as just a sexting app. I think it's an important tool of communication. And it complements all the other tools of communication. But the reason why I bring it up is because just as much as like Snapchat evolved in terms of what it's useful for, I think Clubhouse, I don't want to get off the rails because we're talking about TikTok, but TikTok is a part of the social media experience. It's part of the social media ecosystem, and it's important that you understand where TikTok is and why in the broader context. In the next video, we're actually going to talk a lot more about social media in general, and we'll get into some of these details. But for right now, think about what we know about TikTok is that it is exploding, and everyone's there, and everybody, that wants to find an audience, especially in music, wants to be on TikTok. But if you're going to use TikTok and you're not going to understand the ecosystem of TikTok, you're not going to understand, it's like, people that don't know history are destined to repeat it. the vast majority of artists on TikTok fail. And part of the reason is not because they suck. It's not because they just don't make good music. They don't write good lyrics. It's actually just simply because they don't understand the platform. They don't understand the history of the platform. They don't understand who has the power on the platform. And because of that, they just throw content up. And if you think about it, TikTok in that regard is just like every other social media platform. Indie artists tend to not understand the platform, and so all they do is populate the platform. Not strategically, just the action of populating. And because they get frustrated and they put up content and no one seems to care, and maybe they get 100 likes and they're like, and the next one's a dozen likes and the next one's 1,000, and they think there's not even a formula for this. How could I possibly win? And so they get frustrated, and psychologically it's this constant battle of like, do I even know what I'm doing? Why am I even here? Do people even care? And then they start to rationalize. Isn't this just a bunch of teenagers? Are they really the ones spending money? Think about it. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, a lot of the reason why we cared about who our demographic was is because we wanted to know, do they have money? Like, think about it. A 10-year-old, their parents pay for everything, buy everything. 10-year-old doesn't have really any spending power. But they can go to, Walmart, Target, toy store, whatever, and say, I want that toy, and the parents buy it. So when you think about income and who has the buying power, 10-year-olds don't really have a lot unless it's a toy and they can whine to their parents, right? We start going up the ladder in age, or the timeline in age, and we say, well, 18-year-olds, their parents aren't paying for as much typically, but they also don't have a lot of discretionary cash. But then in some ways, you could say they actually have the most. If you think about 15, 18, there's an argument to be made that their parents pay for everything and they give them an allowance they can spend, but they don't think about spending wisely. So in a lot of ways, that bracket right there has a lot of disposable income on a sort of per person basis. That disposable income we used to care about. I don't want to keep going, but as you go up in age, you say, well, okay, families like new young families that just had their first kid probably don't have any extra spending money. So we don't want to target them unless it's stuff that's essential to that life phase, like baby items and things like that. So as you go through each life phase, you can decide who has disposable cash and who does not. In the digital economy today, if somebody has a Spotify account, that's it. They've gotten the money. And granted, you could say, well, what about touring? What about merch and all these other pieces? Yes. But at the end of the day, the question of who has disposable income is not so much the most important question today. It's how do we aggregate people listening to us to create diehard fans, because whether they have disposable income or not, they're going to be streaming our music. The more that they stream it, the more money we can potentially make. And they might buy a concert ticket, and they might buy a t-shirt. So we think less today, I think, about who has the disposable income and more just about drawing ears and eyeballs to our content, right? So go back to TikTok. If all we're doing on TikTok is saying, I got to be there, I got to put up content, we're losing. Because putting up content, just like go back to our farmer's market analogy, if you just got so tacos, you don't even make the cut, right? And maybe this is a free for all, and it's like first come first serve. And maybe you've seen like these flea markets, and it's like, what are they even selling? Like, I've been to some flea markets and it's like hundreds, or I don't know, 1,000 vendors. And there's some that have all this amazing stuff, and then there's some that are like, they have 4 plants. You're like, why are they even here? Or like bicycle wheels, just 7 bicycle wheels for sale. And you're like, how do they even get here? Well, that's partly what happens when the platform is not controlled. You get anybody, and now all of a sudden, the people still continue to matter, and the platform is making money from the vendors paying for their booth. We don't care if it's 1 customer or 1,000 customers, because the platform owner doesn't get a bite of every single customer. Instead, its economic model is just the fact that there's 1,000 booths, and every single booth is paid for, right? That's the economic model there. In TikTok, the economic model is to continue to keep interest from the fans. That's a never-ending job and a never-ending cycle. If you're an artist and all you're doing is throwing up content here or there, think about it. If I have 5 songs I'm going to release this year, and I'm going to release maybe 2 singles and then an EP with all 5. and I'm going to do some short form videos. So let's say all in all, I got 25 pieces of unique content. And I'm not talking about, a picture of your food or what band you saw or whatever, not the random stuff. Specific to your art, let's say you have 20 pieces of unique content. If you look at TikTokers today who are killing it, they have 20 unique pieces of content per day. And you're thinking per year. You cannot compete when you have 20 unique pieces of content per year to somebody who has 20 unique pieces of content per day. Algorithmically, those people will be in front of your audience a million times more than your stuff will be in front of your own audience, simply because they're refreshing the cycle. And independent artists, the most of the ones that I know, and most of the ones I see, and most of the system that I look at every single day, independent artists their content volume is very, very low. They have a couple of songs, maybe like a behind the scenes, or maybe, hey, let's talk about the lyrics. I mean, when you think about it, maybe the best thing you could do as an artist when you think about TikTok or social media in general is, how can I expand the number and variety of types of content that I would be posting in a day, so that it's not 20 unique pieces throughout a year. Maybe I'm not saying you get to 20 per day, but maybe it is, I have 20 content types. So I'm going to do lyrics, like a behind the scenes lyrics writing. How did I write the song? What was the motivation? I'm going to do some that are like me playing acoustic. I'm going to be some that are me singing acoustic. I'm going to do some that are fully produced tracks, but only clips. I'm going to do some that are in the studio. I'm going to do some that are interviews with the people involved in the process, whatever. But let's say you come up with 20 unique content types or archetypes for your content. Now you have a running chance at getting into the volume load of TikTok. Because without it, if you have one great video and it's served up and all the fans see it, but then they scroll right past it, they're never coming back to that. I mean, how often do we see, unless a video goes viral, once we see it, we just continue on. So what you have to have is either something that goes viral, so that more people go it, it's shared, it's commented on, it's liked and all that. And so more people are coming back to it, which grows it, which makes the algorithm work in your favor and put it in front of even more people. So if it only was in front of 100,000 people before, now it's in front of 1 million and then 10 million and so on, because you're getting this momentum. And every social media platform, including TikTok, likes to know if or will take action when your content seems to be hitting the mark. It seems to be getting attention. If it's getting attention, suddenly your content is shown to more people. So in this scroll that started with artists down the street, yours might be the third video in there, simply because yours is gathering attention. There's obviously, I'm simplifying and demystifying a very complex web of algorithms and intent into just saying, oh, the more action you get, the more yours will be shown to. But in many ways, it's a very complex system that could be understood very simply. And that is, the more content you have that's quality, the more that it can be shown to more people, the more it will, the more people that it's being shown to that show an interest, the more it will be shown into. So think about, just quick contrast. If you post it on Facebook, Facebook will show your content to, let's say, 5%, 1 to 5% of your friends. So a lot of people feel like they get punched in the gut because they post something on Facebook and 10 people like it and they have 1,000 friends, and they're like, that's messed up. Like, how nobody cares. Well, it's not so much that nobody cares. I mean, maybe nobody cares, right? But really, you have to factor in that, what if Facebook only showed it to 10 people and wanted to know what those 10 people do with it? If it's a video and it's 30 seconds long and Facebook showed it to 10 people and 9 of them didn't even watch past 2 seconds, Facebook's saying, no one's going to care about this. So Facebook's mechanism is deciding very quickly, do people even care? Well, guess what? All social media platforms work in a very similar way. Very quickly, the numbers, the bots, if you want to call them, are crunching numbers and saying, will people care? Do they care? Do they not care? If they don't care, it starts to drop in priority. If it seems like they care, it starts to raise in priority. So now, instead of 10 people, we show it to 100. We show it to 1,000. So I want to interject at this point too, your psychology as an independent artist, a lot of times people, because they don't understand the platform, and they get very bent out of shape and emotional about, no one cares when I put content up. remember, your content may only be shown to a very, very small group. And within that group, the platform wants to see, do people care? Are they taking action? Now, it may be truly that no one cares. Maybe it's not good content. Maybe it's just not striking the nerve. But if you could start to see, and this is why marketers, data scientists, all that, they'll tell you, focus on what's working. Because if you focus on what's working, if this type of content doesn't grow and it sort of disappears with a few likes, and this type of content seems to always grow, you may not be as interested in it. But if that's what's working, the idea is that's what you need to double down in. So there's a lot of science in what works. There's a lot of science in you looking at, hey, this is working on TikTok. I need to do more of that. Guess what? That may not be your music. That may be you doing behind the scenes stuff. That may be you doing like, hey, I'm an artist and I love all the stuff I do, but people only seem to like my posts when I go to other people's concerts and I talk about other people's concerts. Guess what? That's a punch in the gut because you're thinking they're supposed to care about my music and no one seems to care. When I post or do anything related to my music, no one cares. But people seem to respond when I go to another concert and I talk about it and I analyze it. And maybe I'm basically doing Yelp reviews for other artists. And suddenly it's like that stuff's blowing up. Well, guess what? In this day we're in, that may be the thing that you have to key into and say, well, maybe I need to do more of that. Some artists will say, I'm not going to sell out. I don't care if my, quote, Yelp reviews of other artists is what's blowing up. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to focus on the stuff that people don't seem to care about, which is my art, right? And I'm a full-on advocate of that. I really believe marketers, even the articles, the blogs, a lot of the podcasts out there, they will tell you, if you did 10 things and this one's blown up, focus on that. Forget the rest. I'm not an advocate of that. I honestly think that is partly selling out. What is your art? If this that's blowing up is not your art, that's the thing you should be cutting off, even if it's successful. If you're truly an artist, you truly care about your art, then if this little baby, you're like, I care about this thing, but no one else seems to care. Take one fan and turn it into two fans. Turn the 2 into 4 and 4 into 8 and so on. Build slowly. Build strategically, it's not so much a niche. I mean, when I started my law practice, a lot of people, oh, you have to niche. Another conversation for another day about niching. But for art, I really feel like sometimes it's counterintuitive to what's working. You have to focus on what's not working and build that and build it slowly. But you build a better foundation. You build more devoted fans. And sooner, it may not be 1 million. It may not be 10 million. But you might have 1,000 devoted fans. There's books written on this. If you could just build 100 or 1,000 devoted fans, you can basically conquer the world. But what I see, particularly in TikTok, is this idea that, yeah, but this stuff is what people seem attracted to. So you have this amazingly talented singer-songwriter who realizes that, teenagers dancing around with half shirts is what's really blowing up. So I'm going to start doing that. And all of a sudden you're like, but where's the art? Like, where's the music? Where's the lyrics? Where's the stuff that you really wanted to build? Well, the videos that are doing really well aren't that. They're this. They're the dancing. They're the whatever. And all of a sudden, that TikToker is really famous for that thing that has nothing to do with their art. And I see so many indie artists that they hope to make a transition of, once I get the audience, I'll flip the script and I'll put them onto my music. But the thing is, the audience was built on this product. It's like honestly, it's like building an audience on steak and then flipping the script and giving them fish. Like 90% of them are going to be like, what? I'm not interested. Like I wanted steak. If you're not selling it, there's 1 billion other people that are selling steak. So I jump ship. So I think it's a horrible strategy on TikTok to say, I'm just going to look at what's working and do more of that. That's a mistake in my mind, despite the fact that a lot of the experts are saying that's exactly what you should do. But understand, they're right if what you're trying to do is just build an audience. If you're trying to build your art and a direct connection from your art to your audience, that is the exact opposite of what you should be doing. You should be cutting the scrap, cutting the successful things that aren't to the core of what you're doing and building around the core. Now, I know there's a lot of people that will argue, managers, marketers, Brock, but come on, you're cutting it close, because what if you can leverage those things? Look, at the end of the day, If you're smart, if you're strategic, you can leverage the audience that cares about this kind of video that has nothing to do with music towards a video that does. Of course, but most artists aren't being strategic about it. So I'm speaking to the group at large that of us who say, well, look, I want to have an audience on platform on TikTok. That's not enough. You need to build an audience of devoted fans. So we need to be doing content that actually matters to us, that is building an audience that actually cares about what we care about, what we're trying to put out there. Number two, we need to be doing it frequently enough to where we're in the mix. And I mean, algorithm or not, just think about it. There's a ton of content. Like, step back from that and say there's so much competition for eyes and ears. So how can we ever be in the mix if we put out one piece of content every 6 months? Or if all of our content is listen to my music, listen to my music, listen to my music, listen to my music. That's pretty boring, right? No one wants to see, even the people that I love, even the artists that I truly love, and I am a devoted fan. They should write me up in their book as Brock is a devoted fan. If all I ever see them post is listen to my music, buy my music, download my music, stream my music, I'm bored. And it's not like when I was growing up, where if I, all my generation, all generations before, if we found music we love, we listened to it over and over and over. That is not the generation we're in right now. That's not the system we're in right now. Right now, it's about consuming and moving to the next. Swipe, 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 scroll, scroll, whatever you want to call it. That's the system that we're in. So if you're not competing in that system, you're lost. One piece of content won't do it unless it goes viral. And even when it goes viral, here's the thing. People used to be, just a few years ago, oh, my thing went viral, I got 1 million. Like, I remember a friend of mine had something go viral and he had 780,000 views or streams or whatever. And it was like, it went viral. Today, 780,000 streams is it's viral by comparison to the vast majority of stuff never gets past, whatever, 100. But when you think about true virality, virality? If you look at it as sort of a scale, and for those of you who understand the long tail or have read the book or understand the concept, most content is out here. Very few. It's just like one piece of content, one piece of content, one like. That goes on forever, basically. But as you go in, the ones that sort of go viral, this one got 1 million views. This one got 2 million views. But the ones that are really viral or whatever, like 10 million views or 10 million streams. So it really exponentially goes up. So when if say like the 90, you hear this like the 1%, the 99%, whatever, the vast majority of artists are in that long tail. Just think of it, simply one piece of content, one like. Right? That's the vast majority. It goes on forever. Then you get into this group where they've had some success. They've had 10,000, 100,000, maybe even 1 million streams or 1 million views. Looks successful. Looks like it went viral. Did go viral. But to get into the real net worth of what creating art is all about, or what you're shooting after, if you're trying to be in that upper end of the spectrum, you got to have constant million, like every single piece of content you put out has 1 million streams, or you need to get into the tens of millions and that sort of thing. So that's where we start to realize, wow, artists really aren't using TikTok very well because they just don't understand the ecosystem. They just don't understand what they're trying to do. So what we all do is we step back, we follow trends, right? What's trending on TikTok? It's famous, like all the hashtags, all the trending videos, and then we try to do that. I see artists all the time doing stuff that's trending and it works. And that's part of the struggle is like, well, why are you saying negative stuff about that, Brock? What's wrong with that? I'm an artist, but I also want to do a little dance or do a little mischief or whatever. Fine. But remember, you can't flip the script on an audience. So if you're building an audience under the assumption that that's who you are and that's what your content is, it'll be nearly impossible to flip them back over to your art. However, if you strategically weave trending ideas with your ideas and strategically weave that, you're not tricking your audience. You're just being relevant, right? And that's the part where I feel like TikTok has a great opportunity to just remain relevant by doing relevant things. It doesn't mean doing it only things that don't matter to you and then trying to flip the script. What it means is weaving relevancy with your content and building an audience that shows I could do this and I could do that and I do it well and it meshes together. So I'm going to wind out with this. I know it's been a little bit of a long talk, But I feel like it's important if you're going to use a platform like TikTok, you should really understand the ecosystem. And if you don't understand the ecosystem, you just want to be on it. Don't get me wrong. You might gather an extra 5 fans, an extra 50, extra 500, maybe even an extra 5,000 fans. I've had artist clients who jumped on a TikTok and got tens of thousands of new followers. But it's not enough to just have those are vanity numbers. To say, hey, I have 50,000, I have 100,000, I have a million followers, it's vanity. The real question is how many people will follow you wherever you're going with your art. I've seen artists who have 7 figures worth of an audience on a platform, and then they can't get 10,000 streams. They can't even get 1,000 streams of their content. It doesn't translate. Just because you have these big numbers on social media doesn't mean you could translate to action within the people that are supposed to be your fans. That's why building a true fan base is so much more important than which platform you're on, which tools are you using. Are you staying relevant with your dancing and shenanigans and all that? All that stuff is great and it's fun and you should be doing it. You should be participating. But everything you do on TikTok must be strategic or it's a wasted effort. And when I say wasted effort, what I mean is if you think about, driving a nail into a piece of wood in a hammer swing, if you could do it with one, oh, that's amazing. But if you're just swinging that hammer over and over and over because you're hitting it on the edge, the nail's bending because you're doing it wrong or you're doing it light and you're swinging 20 times when really 1, 2 good swings, you could have that thing nailed in. How many of us are treating TikTok like that repeated? I'm just going to go through the motions, put up content, do some funny stuff, see what's trending, use the right hashtags, talk about the Kardashians. I'm going to do all that stuff. That's just repetitive exhaustion. Everything you do as an indie artist needs to start to become strategic. If you use a platform like TikTok, understand the platform, understand what works on the platform, and do that thing. I'm going to leave you there. I don't want to start repeating myself, but dig into the next, as we start to talk about in the next videos about social media in general and how to be more effective. I want you to use this TikTok understanding, this TikTok ecosystem as a way to really step back from social media and say, am I using it effectively? And that's where I want you to go next. All right.